Hello and welcome, everyone. We are here for our new installment of Heart as a Compass interview series. I have had this guest on our show before. Her name is Larissa Riley. She's in South Africa and a dear friend of mine. And when I was channeling the topics for the interviews this year, my guides showed me Larissa for this month, which is rebirth. And I think Larissa is perfect for this because Larissa has really helped me as a friend and as a sister and a part of my spiritual tribe and um, just wonderful friend in this journey of life. She's always connected to me in times when I've been my darkest, and she's always reminded me of the light within every single time. We've had wonderful healing experiences, both me giving her healings and her giving me healings where we've shifted our realities in some way together. And so every time I connect with this beautiful soul, it feels like a rebirth. Also, she is a world traveler. And part of my journey is wanting to travel more. So when I reach out through this wonderful technology, through space and time, and I connect with Larissa, it reminds me of who I am and who I'm becoming. She has done wonderful things in this world, and she will continue to do them. So, Larissa, welcome, and thank you for joining us again on my radio show.
Hi, Paige. Wow, what an introduction. I always love spending time with you, as you know, and I'm very honored. Thanks for inviting me.
So, the last time you came on to my radio show, you were just getting ready to go to Egypt and you were preparing for a beautiful spiritual retreat and stepping into your spiritual leadership as a travel goddess.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yes, I think that's your role. So tell us a little bit about your journey in Egypt, how you got there, what brought you there, and
Miracle upon miracle. Yeah.
tell the story. It's wonderful.
Yeah, wow. Talking about rebirthing, that was one of the biggest rebirth experience that you can possibly imagine. I did this with Shakti. It was a long process to get going and my dream was always to do spiritual travel and to take people on these epic journeys to all these spiritual places. I mean, there's so many, and Egypt kept calling so hard and so loud. So we decided it's time. We're gonna and I just had this feeling Egypt's got to be first. Egypt's got to be first because on my list there's so many. There's India, there's Peru, there's so many places. And we chose to go during November last year, and there was the lunar eclipse, as you remember. And we spent that day in Komombo, which is known as the Temple of Shadow and Light. So that was the perfect timing, and we actually watched the eclipse from the deck of we were on an Nile cruise at that time, from the deck of this cruise, and I completely fell in love with the River Nile. She is so nurturing. If you look, I mean, you're in the middle of a desert basically, and on both sides, the people still plant from the waters of the Nile. She gives the most succulent fruit that you've ever tasted. I mean, their fruit juices are to die for. And it all gets cultivated from the River Nile, from that water source. And it's been generation upon generation upon generation that she's just giving and giving and giving. And what they do and how they do it was absolutely magnificent to see. It's very difficult to, in a nutshell, talk about the experience, but I'll tell you that it was a big rebirth. the last night we spent we had private time in the Grand Pyramid, the Great Pyramid, and 2 hours, and we could get into the there, and it was life changing, and it took a long time to integrate all of this experiences that we had in Egypt, and I guess I'm still integrating, and it's almost a year. But did I learn from it? Yes. We had a magnificent, beautiful, soulful group that went along. Do it. If you can do spiritual travel, go out there and experience it for yourself. It's not always easy. There's hard times as well, but it's always worth it. I had a double knee replacement, and some days the app on my phone said I walked 10 kilometers. So some days it was rough on these new stiff legs, but I did it, and I had great help from Shakti's husband, who was always next to me with his arm or his hand if I had to do 10 million steps, and I did it. So I came back knowing that I have courage and I can do this. And if I can do it, really anybody and everybody can do it. You can do it.
And I know that you put an incredible amount of work on the planning side of it,
Oh,
organizing
yes.
it and setting everything into place, calling, getting the tours. And that's a really good example of, like, we personally, Larissa and I were talking before the call today about the balance of divine masculine, divine feminine. Is, the divine feminine is the guidance to go to Egypt and follow that, and the divine masculine is the planning and organizing and follow through and making it happen. And I was amazed at your ability to make it happen. You were calling people in the politics and government of Egypt and trying to make this happen. So, do you have any advice on that balance of, here's the idea from divine feminine and here's the way to manifest it? Because you were able to balance that and allow not only yourself to travel, but how many? You had 12 with you?
We were 9 in total.
9 in total. So, I mean, that's impressive that you were able to create this experience for 9 people traveling in a foreign place. How did you do that?
I believed in myself,
Hmm.
Paige. That's the main thing that I did. And
Hmm.
also I knew this is for me. It's been calling me all my life, really. And it's for every participant that went. I knew, and I had the trust in life. Trust is it's such a strong thing, trust.
Hmm.
If you have trust in yourself, if you have trust in the universe, if you have trust in the people you're going to work for, because that was for them, um, it gives you a certain amount of momentum.
Hmm.
Because once you get the momentum going, there's no stopping me. Once I get going, there's no stopping me.
Hmm.
Um, and we had hurdles. There were times when we didn't know if it was going to happen. I mean, the war between Palestine and Israel just started, and we actually had 2 people who canceled
Hmm.
because they were so scared. So overcoming hurdles like that, is it going to happen? Is it not? If it's divinely inspired, it has to happen.
Right.
So as long as you show up, you do your part, and just do it to the best of your ability. Just do everything you do in life to the best of your ability. There's, it can't go wrong. But is anything going wrong? Is it not just a life lesson, or
Hmm.
um, just overcome your hurdles and do it? And once we were in the flow, we were in the flow, and we had amazing experiences. And I mean, being there, I experienced past lives. with my eyes open, with some of the participants there, actually seeing their part that they played there. It was, you can't think this up. I mean, you can't.
Divinely
You just
orchestrated.
can't. Seeing the same things at the same time, but from a different perspective, the perspective of who you were, and seeing them, and then you don't speak necessarily at that moment, but afterwards.
Mm.
And you put it together and you go like, this can't be something we're imagining. It just can't. So yes, it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
And do you think that after this rebirthing of planning, dreaming, and
Mm-hmm.
manifesting this
Mm-hmm.
trip and this experience, which I know is part of who you want to be as a spiritual leader. Like, I know that being a spiritual travel coach is important and it's part of your journey and who you are becoming. How do you feel afterwards? Like, you mentioned the integration and how you've been integrating it. And I think that's the hardest part, because even though you have a big story of going to Egypt, the rest of us are experiencing small rebirths, even at the beginning of a new school year, at the beginning
Absolutely.
of a new calendar year, at a birth date. Like, we're constantly having these new moons, these new cycles that
Correct.
bring us into shifts of ourselves. So the integration, facing that, is really difficult because we're becoming something new, right? So how are
Correct.
you integrating all of those downloads and all of that experience?
As I said, it was huge. This is probably one of the biggest rebirths in my life,
Mm,
because it was so huge, because the energy was so huge, because there's so many past life memories that was locked in there, and overcoming things and learning about your own shadows. I mean, during a lunar eclipse, it's the shadows that come out to play, and we were there at the Temple of Shadow and Light, where we had an amazing experience, um, at one spot where they take you. I mean, it's still, there's been so many prayers over millennia. I don't believe they're just 2, 3, 4,000 years old. I believe it's much older than that. I really had the download. Even looking at the hieroglyphs, I had downloads. So integrating it is huge, because I'm not integrating only that one experience. I'm integrating so many lifetimes of experiences, and I'm already being called to go back there and experience more. I can feel it. It's calling already again. So how to integrate it is, it's huge, and it's taking long. At one stage, I felt while I was there that I was giving birth not only to a new Larissa, but to a new world. I had the physical pains, and
mm,
I had the whole group supporting me. It felt like birth pains. It was excruciating birthing this new world. And just by being there, by us, by our energy
mhm.
being there, we have unlocked codes that we needed and that the place needed.
Yes.
Um, so yes, that was probably the biggest. But as you said, rebirth, what is rebirth? We all go through rebirth throughout our lifetimes, because otherwise there's no growth.
Mhm.
So yes, in the beginning of the new, starting school for the first time is a huge rebirth. It changes you. Moving to a new place,
Yes.
you change.
Mm.
Your energy changes.
Where
Who
you are.
you are, your routine, what you do, it
It,
all changes, and I think for me, conscious rebirthing, for me, doing a ritual around it
mm,
for yourself. You can whatever works for you, and doing it consciously is just so much more powerful than having life push you through it.
mm.
So if you help with the birth of the new you, it's more powerful than being birthed, just being birthed.
It's
by
funny.
by
The
life.
minute you say this, it's reminding me of a couple years ago. I was able to participate in a Munkay fire rite a ceremony that you held. And I've seen you lead many other ceremonies over the years, and there is this beautiful power that comes from you in ceremony and in ritual. So how can listeners, what's your advice on if we're feeling our own rebirth, if we just moved, or if we're going through a relationship change or a new school year or new job? These are rebirthings. These are part of ourselves becoming something new. And the question I always ask myself is, who am I becoming? So our listeners are asking, who am I becoming as we're shifting through the change and the struggle that comes with change? Do you have any advice on creating a sacred ritual that would help us in our rebirthing?
Okay, my first advice would be look at nature. Look at nature. Where's the moon cycle? A new moon is always a good time for rebirthing because it brings something new. And what is the energy of that new moon? What is important to you?
Mm,
So if I say, what is important to you? What will make you feel more relaxed, more at ease, more what would aid you in your own rebirthing?
mhm,
Would it be lying on the floor like I've done before, lying on the floor outside in nature? Luckily, I've got a huge farm, so I've got nobody looking at me strangely or anything. Where I could actually lie down on Mother Earth, giving
mm,
birth to the new me. Um, as you know, I love fire ceremonies,
mhm,
and fire to me is such a potent nature energy. I mean, it's extremely potent. So putting your soul through the fire and being rebirthed through the fire. In South Africa, we've got plants they call fynbos. Um, and there's many places in the world which will have the seeds that are only they can only germinate through fire. They
mm,
have to burn down every few years, otherwise new plants won't germinate to grow.
mm,
So as that fynbos we've got here in South Africa,
mhm.
sometimes that is what the soul needs. So incorporate the elements. Water. Water is so emotional. If you think about the bodies
Yeah,
of
we are water.
your etherical bodies,
Mhm,
the water body is so sensitive.
mhm.
So if it's lying in a bath with candles surrounding you and put nature elements in there, rose petals are so powerful and so loving. And give yourself that birth
Mm,
you needed. Give yourself the grace to give birth to a beautiful new life for yourself. It's going to depend on what the reason is. A lot of people are only awakening now. And going through the dark night of the soul, as you know, Paige, is
mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
It's not unicorns and
No,
rainbows, at all. At all.
nope.
It's hard and it's harsh and it's
It's
ugly,
messy.
and sometimes you ugly cry and it's just
Mm,
tears and it's messy. It's just messy. When you feel that maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel, start preparing for your own rebirth. Do a ceremony.
mm,
Lie in a bath, have it full of rose petals, have some candles, have some beautiful smelling oils in your water,
yeah.
and just lie and meditate in there and give birth to the new you. That is such a powerful ritual.
Yes.
It
Yep.
it it just and bless yourself.
And I think allowing ourselves to change is one of the hardest parts of life because we want other people to stay in kind of in a box that we've created for them. I know that after my mom's passing, I started to see my mom through an adult's eyes versus through a child's eyes. And I realized that I'd loved her and been frustrated by her through the lens of child. And it was in her death and her passing that I was able to start seeing who she was as a woman. And instead of being frustrated at the changes that she made throughout her life, to kind of celebrate that for her. And I see that in my own reflection as well, in that I want to change, I want to grow, I want to be free, but I don't always want the people I love to do that. And that's hard, because that's part of the rebirthing, and that's part of letting everyone's light shine, right? As we are rebirthing, as we are shedding, we know that we're not the same person we were 2 months ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago. We've changed, we've evolved, but we also have to acknowledge everyone around us has also changed. And the being able to look at people with new eyes, like who are you?
Yes.
Who are you becoming? And how is this new journey? And I realized that, with my partner, we were talking about this early, is it's very easy for me to look at him with the eyes that I had as a 20-year-old when we were first together. And now I have to realize that he's changing just as much as I'm changing. And it's easy to say, well, we've been together so long and, we're growing apart. But we're really growing together if we can see our light in each other. And the ceremony of rebirthing ourselves is also acknowledging that as we change, people around us change. And I see this I live in the United States, so there is this huge otherness in the United States. There's this separation, which is difficult because we're not seeing the humanity in other people. And your ceremony and your speaking of rebirth just really reminds me of how we need to allow ourselves to change, but we also need to allow the people that we love to change and love them through new lenses every day. And
I
that's
had
part of rebirth.
I had a conversation with my mom not so long ago about exactly this. And I said to her, Mom, remember when? And I told her a little story, which I can't remember what it was. And she said, yes, but we are both different people now. And it took me a while to think, yes, we are completely different people now.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, allowing a person to be who they truly are, to allow them to let them, because I mean, you want to keep your kids small, you can't. They need to grow, they need to shine their light, they need to live. Now, the only thing in life truly that is constant is change. And without change, there's no growth. And a lot of people are very resistant to change, very resistant. I always said, I thrived on change. I had no fear of change. But in later years, I found I also became resistant to change. Why is that? I am still looking for the why. Why have I become, oh, the most dangerous thing that you can do for yourself is to settle into your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because is a resistance to change not you wanting to stay in your comfort zone, which means you're not growing, you're not shining your light, you're not allowing yourself to be rebirthed. And I mean, if you're going to keep a baby in the birth canal, it's going to
Mm-mm.
suffocate and die. You can't.
No, you will too. You can't live like that.
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
how do you work through when you want to change but nothing's changing? Because that happens a lot too, where we feel stagnant but we don't know how to change. Like we want a new birth and we want a rebirth and we want to visualize new in our life, but sometimes we just feel stuck. And that's a part of the process of rebirth too. So what advice do you have for those of us that want a rebirth but don't know how to create it?
There would be a reason for that. And my suggestion would be find yourself an amazing healer, like, for instance, Paige who can help you do a healing that might shift your energy. You need an energy shift. You will find that maybe it could be your chakras being out of balance. It's most probably that. Well, start there. And Paige, being aware that you're stuck
Mm.
is already a step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, it is.
The awareness is already, that's your first step. And
Hmm.
just remember to be kind with yourself. We all get stuck
Right.
in life. We all get stuck. So go out and find help, because the more you stay in your stuckness, the harder it is to get out.
Mm.
The longer you stay in it, the harder it is to get out.
Yeah.
So my advice is find the help you need, whatever form or shape that takes for you. Um, you can start out maybe by trying something different. See who's the new you? What does the new you enjoy? What brings you joy in life? And go towards that direction. Just take the first step, because every big journey starts with the first step. I wouldn't have been to Egypt if I didn't take that first step, that initial step that starts with a tiny spark, a tiny idea
Yeah.
that you can grow into something amazing if you want.
Yeah. That first step.
That
So
first step.
we're getting towards the end of our time here, and before we leave, something that you said earlier, I just want to bring back to it and highlight it. You said you were in Egypt. You were not only rebirthing for yourself, but for the new earth. And the new earth is something that I'm constantly praying on and meditating on, and that's part of what this series is for me, is anchoring in the light and sharing our stories and sharing our experiences with each other. Tell me about your wish for the new earth.
Wow, that one is huge. My wish for the new earth would start with the earth, that she would not be so misused, that she would be honored as the sentient being that she is. Because our life comes from her, she's nurturing towards all of us. And if we can give it back, if we can reciprocate that love, not only for Mother Earth, but for our fellow human beings, for all sentient creatures,
Yeah.
animals, plants, insects, you know, I think if it starts there, it can only be beautiful, because nothing will be misused or abused in any way. If
Mhm.
there's respect, if there's kindness, if there's love. So my wish for the new earth, my biggest wish will be love. Love in the hearts of all, for all, because we really are one. We don't see it that way, but we really are. And that includes Mother Earth, that includes animals, that includes the wise trees. They've been here for, some of them are thousands of years old, and they carry such a wisdom, and it's so easy just to cut them off for some people.
Yeah. This the healers that I'm with now, and including you and part of our collective here, is we are taking the path and stepping one step at a time. And we are guiding the new generation of awakening souls who will be coming in. And age has nothing to do with it. I know that that was a big wake up call for me a couple years ago when I met this amazing healer, and she was half my age, and I was like, blankety blink blink blink, oh wow, you're very aware for someone so young. And I'm sure if you look at me the same way, and it takes a second to be like, oh, we're all on this path, and age has nothing to do with it, and sex and gender nothing to do with it. It's really about the process of rebirthing ourselves, of connecting to the earth. It's really about visualizing who we are becoming as a humanity. And a lot of times, I know during COVID, it was a big thing for a lot of people, even myself, that fear that was trying to be implanted and, roused up and stirred in all of us. And there was this place that I got to during that process of seeing that the other side through fear. And I have many friends and family on both sides of the political spectrum, and I watch both sides with empathy and love. And my job, I think, and I think Larissa will agree with me, is visualizing a better earth, like what you just said about the connection to the earth. Because in times of stress, in times of fear, we focus on the fear. And what we can do instead is visualize what we want to be in its place. And
Correct.
that's where we can create a new earth. I know that this concept is new agey and woo woo, but really, as everything is falling apart, as there's chaos, one of the first healing workshops I went to was talking about the neural pathways between the brain and how we have fear, 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 and it's a short road that goes back and forth with that talking. But if you create a new path, you can override the fear and go somewhere else where it can be gratitude. And so together, Larissa and I, together, we are creating a new earth together. We are visualizing healers coming together, working, traveling together, supporting each other, connecting to the earth. I think that.
Hey, on that, I just would like to say that before, if you go and you want to rearrange your house,
Mhm.
right? And you start unpacking, there's chaos before there comes order. The
Yes,
world has been carrying on like this for far too long. It's time for change. So there is going to be chaos, but
yes,
don't let the fear take over. Stay in gratitude. Don't focus on that which scares you,
well said.
because that's what the old world wants. The old world wants people to stay in fear and to listen to authority, and you are sovereign.
Mhm.
Look at your heart. Look at your heart. Fill it full of love instead of fear. Because what is the opposite of fear? Truly, it's love.
Mhm.
So if we can start with yourself, if each and every one on the earth can start with themselves and just love, start with self-love.
Mhm. Mhm.
Love your neighbor, love your family, love, and stop with the fear.
Yes.
And then we'll see there truly is no divide. There is no one side and the other side. There's one side,
Mhm.
and there truly is no different countries. We're all humanity.
Right.
We're all humanity. We one humanity.
Yes.
And
Yes,
we're
we
all
are.
earthlings if we include the animals and the plants and the. So if we can start with love, just love, that's all. Because
Beautiful.
out of love comes respect, and I think the world will be a better place if everybody can start with themselves and just breathe in love and let go of the fear. There is going to be chaos,
Mm.
yes, but be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
And
Be
focus on.
somebody that others could lean on in time of fear,
Mhm.
rather than being the one that has to be held up.
Yes. Beautifully said. Larissa, for our listeners, how can they reach out to you if they want to travel with you, if they want to connect with you?
They can find me, probably is the easiest is on Facebook, Larissa Riley. There's a
Mhm.
picture of me in front of the Great Pyramid. That's going to be the easiest for now.
Wonderful. Also, reach out to me and I will connect the dots and connect you to Larissa as well. She's a powerful shaman. She does family constellation and ancestral work. She does Crystalline Soma Healing Method. And she is just a wonderful person to work with. Munkay Fire Rites. She has so many ceremonies under her belt. She's so wonderful to work with. And hopefully more traveling. There's rumors you might be going back to Egypt. So I will manifest a trip with you at some point. I will.
It's gonna happen, Paige. It's gonna happen.
Thank you so much for joining me in this little space and for sharing your story and planting that seed of rebirth with myself and with everyone who might watch this. Blessings, Larissa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing in the world. Love you, sister.
Bye-bye.
Bye.